The most interesting guests. The coolest conversations. Keep watching episodes of the Grizzly Podcast, hosted by Irvin Scott. Follow the Grizzly Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more apps to have our episodes delivered right to your iPhone, Android, or any other device whenever they're released. Can't get enough of the Grizzly Podcast? Stay up to date with all our latest news, events, and behind-the-scenes footage by visiting grizzlypodcast.com.
So what does it mean to be on your Grizzly? It means hard work, dedication, and it means progress beyond your Grizzly. Hard work, dedication, and progress.
I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me.
Coming to you from the City of Angels, this is the Grizzly Podcast, hosted by Irvin Scott.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Grizzly Podcast. I am your host, Irvin Scott, and today we've got a special show for you guys. We've got a special guest joining us. This man is an actor, a comedian, producer, and author. He's best known for his role as Mike Barnes in The Karate Kid Part 3 and Cobra Kai. He's also known as AJ Quartermain on General Hospital and Deacon Sharp on The Bold and the Beautiful and The Young and the Restless. He is the author of Way of the Cobra and his latest book titled Welcome to the Kumite. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Sean Kanan.
Man, that was a hell of an introduction, brother. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
Your karate's a joke. Sean, thank you so much for joining us on the Grizzly Podcast, man. It's an honor to have you on the show. You know, I've been trying to get you on the show since our last season, but obviously schedules have been crazy. But again, I'm grateful that you're here, man. The reason why I wanted to bring you on the show is because this is the Grizzly Podcast. And basically what that means, the term grizzly is a slang term. It means being on your grind, being on your hustle. But Sean, obviously, you're somebody who embodies what we do on the show. You're somebody, again, who I mentioned is constantly grinding, someone that is working towards their dreams or goals, as well as motivating others along the way to stay on their grind as well. So, Sean, with that being said, how are things with you, bro?
Things are great. You know, they're busy as usual. I'm really, really blessed. I'm involved with 3 different television shows right now. Of course, I'm on The Bold and the Beautiful, which I've been doing since 2000. And Cobra Kai and the show that I created, Studio City. So that's all great. And I've been really busy with my my coaching, my motivational speaking. My new book recently came out, Welcome to the Kumite. A lot of travel and, you know, also trying to have that balance. You know, I'm busy, but I like it that way. You know, you made a great point about, you know, use the term grizzly, but grinding, hustling. You know, I think for a long time, hustling had a little bit of a negative connotation to it, but I don't see it that way. You know, I see it as being constantly involved in the fight, in the game. And, you know, not only trying to work consistently and effectively to make your own goals and dreams come true, but for me, the flip side of that is to be of service and to help other people realize their goals.
I agree. Well said there. And nothing happens overnight, obviously. We work hard on a daily basis to try to get to where we want to be, right, or just to do what we want to do in that sense. But in your case, obviously, you've accomplished so much in your career. So, Sean, for our listeners and viewers tuning in right now that may not be familiar with how your career got started, let's take them back, man. Sean, you were born in Cleveland, Ohio. Is that correct? And you later relocated to Newcastle, Pennsylvania?
Cleveland. I left when I was 5, moved to Newcastle, Pennsylvania. That's where my family's business was headquartered. It was a chain of retail jewelry stores, and went away to Boston, Boston University to start my my college. Did 2 years there, and I knew I wanted to be an actor, and I knew I'd either go to New York or to Los Angeles. And I always say that I figured it would be easier to starve where it was warm. So I went out to Los Angeles, and I finished my political science degree at UCLA. And while I was there, I got my big break for Karate Kid 3, and that's really what really served as a launching pad for me for everything else.
And speaking of the Karate Kid Part 3, your first notable role was that of villain Mike Barnes in the 1989 film The Karate Kid Part 3, starring Ralph Macchio, Thomas Ian Griffith, Martin Kove, Robin Lively, yourself, and the late, great Pat Morita. Tell us more about what it was like being a part of this project. What was it like, auditioning for the film? And we'll get into what happened while filming the movie. But again, tell me more about what it was like just being a part of this film.
Well, so let's see. I was in Los Angeles, and I was pursuing acting, and the head of my martial arts school, a gentleman who just passed away, his name is Fumio Demura, also happened to be Pat Morita's stunt double. And he let me know that they were going to be looking for the new bad guy, the new villain for Karate Kid 3. And he said, I think you ought to try and audition for it. So I did audition. I had to go to an open call. Here's a really interesting thing. Before Cobra Kai season 5 came out, I was doing an interview on the set of Bold and the Beautiful with Entertainment Tonight. And I said, you guys aren't going to believe this, but it's so surreal. 35 years ago, Entertainment Tonight interviewed me at the open call. And the host said, well, we've got this really expansive vault that goes across the years. We're going to find that interview. Well, damn if they didn't find it, right? So I can tell you what it was like at the open call, but if you go to YouTube and just put Sean Kanan Entertainment Tonight, they did this entire piece on me where you can see me. I was 22 years old. It's the moment that I meet John Avildsen. I mean, we carry these memories in our heads of the seminal moments in our life. And, they get refracted through a prism over time. The story kind of changes. I hadn't seen this in 35 years. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that was the exact moment. So you can see that. So I wound up eventually getting the role. Needless to say, it had a tremendous effect on the trajectory of my professional career and also on my life.
So, Sean, while you were filming The Karate Kid Part 3, you suffered internal bleeding after injuring your omentum. Man, this was a very scary situation. You collapsed a couple of days after shooting a scene for the film, and you had to undergo a life-saving surgery. Tell me more about what happened there.
About 2 weeks into filming, we had been rehearsing for about a month, and then 2 weeks into filming, we broke for Christmas. I went to Las Vegas, and I had been experiencing some pain in my left thigh, which I thought was from all the karate. I was taking a lot of aspirin. Long story short, I had internal bleeding, and the aspirin is a blood thinner, exacerbated the bleeding. I passed out Christmas Day in 1988. I was in Humana Sunrise Hospital fighting for my life, and I had to not only fight my way back into the world. They told me they weren't sure they could save my life because I'd lost a tremendous amount of blood. But I had to fight my way back into the film. And, a lot of times people will say to me, what was the biggest, most important thing you've ever done in your career? And a lot of people think it's Karate Kid 3 because it was a big movie, introduced me to the Karate Kid universe. And that's true. But it was that movie because the experience I had almost dying and having to, kind of really look deep within myself and find that inner strength, that character to be able to overcome what was a tremendous challenge. That's why that will always have a place in my heart.
Well, Sean, I'm so happy to hear that you're alive, man, because that was definitely a scary situation.
Definitely it was a terrifying thing because, I knew I was starting to slip into unconsciousness in the hospital. and I was struggling to sort of stay awake. And when they said to me, look, we're going to try and save your life, but we have to take you to surgery. And I thought that meant Monday, and they meant in 15 minutes. And, shit got very real very quickly. And, I wouldn't wish that experience on anyone. And oddly, I wouldn't give that experience up in my life because it was so invaluable to me.
So, Sean, prior to you working on the Karate Kid Part 3, you actually studied Shotokan karate under Sensei William Stoner. Is that right?
That was really integral to my getting the role. I don't think they could have hired somebody with no martial arts training and in that amount of time made them look like somebody that was a serious tournament competitor. So yeah, it was very fortunate that I had pretty significant basics in martial arts, good foundation.
Wow. Very cool to hear that you had that background under your belt, because by the time you landed the role, you obviously had a good foundation of Japanese karate. And this is important because, being that you were the central antagonist of Daniel LaRusso, played by Ralph Macchio, it will definitely make the scenes a little bit more realistic, right?
Yeah, the fact that they didn't have to use a stuntman to do the karate for me was huge.
The film also starred Ralph Macchio, the late, great Pat Morita, Thomas Ian Griffith was part of it, and Martin Kove. They've all been in different things, but getting a chance to work with all these seasoned actors, what was that like?
Well, I mean, of course, I knew who Ralph and Martin Kove were. And for me, Pat Morita was Arnold from Happy Days before I ever knew he was Mr. Miyagi. I was a guy that bought a ticket to go see the Karate Kid. I bought a ticket to go see the Karate Kid 2. And, then there's Karate Kid 3 and I'm the guy. It was surreal. That's the word I always use because it's true. It was just like, I couldn't believe it, but very quickly, I had to snap out of that and realize that I had a big job to do. I did not know Thomas Ian Griffith before working with him. It was great working with him. We obviously worked together pretty extensively. Terrific actor, terrific martial artist. So, it was a big production. A lot of moving parts, a lot of responsibility. And I was a very, very, very new actor, and it was just so much I didn't know. What I did know, you could fit in a thimble, and what I didn't know, you could fit in the ocean. And so the entire experience for me was a learning experience. And everybody's got to start somewhere. I often think, what would it be like if somehow I had the experience and the knowledge that I have now as that 22-year-old guy, but I didn't. That's fine. So, for me, I look back at the film sometimes, and there's things I wish I would have done differently or choices I would have made that were different. But, I think all in all, it worked.
And you got a chance to work on a couple other projects after the Karate Kid Part 3. But in 1993, you joined the ABC soap opera General Hospital, and you played the role of A.J. Quartermain. Tell us more about your character on this show.
A.J. Quartermain was the black sheep of the Quartermain family, which was the central family on General Hospital. He was an alcoholic, ne'er-do-well, kind of born with a silver spoon in his mouth. But, I always played this guy like he was an anti-hero. And so I think a character that could have very easily been seen as a spoiled rich kid, people had a tremendous amount of empathy for this character. And I worked with my longtime friend, Steve Burton. We played brothers. And, prior to General Hospital, I actually did a television series called The Outsiders that was based on the book and the film. Francis Ford Coppola produced that. And before that, I did a television film that was produced by Oliver Stone after Karate Kid 3. But General Hospital was a really big job because it's a show that had been on for decades, and stepping right into those shoes of a show that's already got such a massive following, it is a really good thing for an actor because it gets you really, really wide exposure to a lot of people. So, it turned out to be a really great thing. I didn't have any particular desire to go into daytime. It just, I needed a job, and that's what presented itself. And it turned out to be one of the more important jobs of my career.
And your character in that show was so important that you were nominated for an award in the Outstanding Newcomer category by Soap Opera Digest for your believable portrayal of this character, because the storyline centered on ongoing battles with alcoholism. What was it like, man, just knowing that you were acknowledged for that role?
It's always nice getting recognition for your work. It certainly was nice as the new guy on the team getting some recognition. But I always say you can't read the good reviews unless you read the bad ones. So, you got to take it all with a grain of salt. When you get good ones, it's nice, but you got to make sure that your ego remains in check. And when you get the bad ones, you got to look at it like, hey, got to go back to the lab and do a little diagnostic and, keep working on some stuff. And I think that's how it is in life. Very few people get metaphorically great reviews all the time in everything they do. Otherwise, we'd never learn. I think failure is a huge part of learning. It's all how you frame it. If you frame it as something that you carry around that's disempowering, then it's useless. But if you frame it as something that is a lesson learned and use it as something that's a catalyst to motivate you to become better, then failure can be incredibly helpful.
So you left the show in 1997 and you returned for the 50th anniversary of that series. What was it like just being a part of that series again?
I think it was 2015, but maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was 2015. But I came back for the 50th anniversary for a year. And, I thought that was a chapter that had closed in my life, that I was never going to come back. And I didn't ever imagine reprising my role as AJ Quartermain. And it was again, I use the word surreal, to drive back onto the lot of, ABC Prospect, where we shoot in Los Angeles, somewhere that I never thought I would return to. And, it was great to have another bite at the apple all those years later.
So we're going to rewind time just a bit, because in 1999, you joined the cast of Aaron Spelling's NBC soap opera, Sunset Beach. And your character on the show was Jude Kavanaugh. What was it like just being a part of that series?
That was a lot of fun. I had auditioned for Aaron Spelling's shows many times throughout the years. I had never gotten one. And, when I did eventually get the show, it was a lot of fun. Great people. Unfortunately, I was just there for about the last 6 to 8 months of the show before it was canceled. But overall, it was a really great experience.
So in 2000, you joined the cast of the CBS soap opera, The Bold and the Beautiful, as Deacon Sharp. Your character was a villain. And it's interesting to talk about this character because there weren't any long-term plans, right? Somehow your character would later prove to be the basis for popular ongoing storylines for the show. So tell me more about this character and how did that whole thing come about?
Well, The Bold and Beautiful is an interesting show. It's the #1 daytime show in the world. It's syndicated in over 40 countries. Deacon Sharp, I'm the only actor that's ever played Deacon Sharp, so I'm fiercely protective of the character. He came on the show as an absolute bad guy, and it was a lot of fun to play. I remember my character smoked on TV. You can't smoke on TV. I smoked on TV. I was always using, really pushing the envelope with the type of language I used. I wanted this character to be just as edgy as you could get away with on daytime. And it really clicked with the audience. And then as the character evolved, I really started to look at ways to incorporate humanity into this guy that was a bad guy. And, I'm always fascinated, not with sort of the monolithic blacks and whites emotionally that characters have, but those nanoshades of gray in between. I believe that good people sometimes do bad things. I believe bad people sometimes do good things. And that sort of moral ambiguity is what creates conflict, and conflict is what drives interesting story and character. And so over the years, the character has developed dramatically. I'm on Bold and Beautiful now, for those people that don't know. And this go round, we see my character Deacon Sharp coming out of prison with nothing. And, you know, his first order of business is to try and reconnect himself with his daughter. And nobody will give this guy a chance. He winds up living in a broom closet, cleaning toilets in a restaurant. And now my character owns the restaurant and has become a really good father. And he's become a good man. And, you know, I love this sort of quest for absolution and redemption. I think that's a very noble and appealing goal as an actor and a character to go for. And so, you know, I've been on the show off and on since 2000, I think it was 2000. And, you know, it's just as fun and exciting and challenging to me as it ever was. And I'm still thoroughly impassioned with being a part of the #1 show in daytime. And I'm incredibly, you know, my wife said something to me, and I hope this doesn't come across as being egotistical, because I don't mean it that way. But she said to me one day, when Cobra Kai first came out, she said, "Do you realize at this moment in time, you are starring on the #1 show in daytime and on the #1 show in the world?" And I was like, wow, yeah. And, you know, I think sometimes in life, we got to take a second and, you know, when you're grinding or, you know, Grizzly, you know, you got to stop and smell the roses a little, because 99% of life is about grinding and trying to achieve things. And, you know, when you actually hit those moments where you do achieve them, I think it's important to take a real quick victory lap and then put that away and then start looking for, you know, even bigger goals. But, you know, I think to ignore it is a mistake, because, you know, we certainly put a spotlight on the times when we fall short and our quote unquote failures. I think it's also important to, you know, celebrate our victories.
So you were on the show until your character served a prison sentence for obstructing justice. Is that correct?
Well, I think I was in prison for taking a shot at one of the other characters with a gun, but I did finally get out. Yeah, you know, it had been 5 years, and I very much wanted to return to the show. And you know, 2020 was a really difficult year for a lot of people. And I was really fortunate. I had a pretty amazing 2020. I sort of hesitate to tell people about it sometimes. I don't feel guilty about it, but I certainly recognize that it was hard for a lot of people. My 2020 started out doing back-to-back movies in Puerto Rico with Bruce Willis. And I came back to LA and I did a movie for Lifetime. And then I found out I was going to be doing Cobra Kai, which, I mean, had nothing else happened but that, it still would have been a banner year. And the year finished with me getting a call to return that September to Bold and Beautiful. And I was like, this is just absolutely incredible. And I think that's also 2020 was when Way the Cobra came out, my third book. So 2020 will definitely go down to the books as a very special year.
Yeah, very cool, man. And, you know, while we're on the same subject, we're talking about Deacon here. I know that you also got a chance to reprise your role as Deacon on the soap opera, The Young and the Restless. What was it like appearing in that?
So I am one of a handful of characters that has played the same character, a handful of actors that played the same character on multiple shows. Young and the Restless and Bold and Beautiful are kind of sister shows. And I was on Young and the Restless for about 1.5 years ago. And I got a call out of the blue and they said, hey, we want to bring you back to do a couple shows. And I thought that was great. So I had the incredible, wonderful experience of getting to, you know, pop back into Genoa City and do a couple shows there. But if you can do what you love and earn a living and work with people you like, man, that's the trifecta.
So, Sean, being that you reprise your role as Deacon Sharp on The Bold and the Beautiful and The Young and the Restless, would you say that this is one of your favorite characters to play?
I love playing Deacon Sharp. It's a fantastic, very, very multi-dimensional, multi-layered character. And I have fun playing this character. And, I'm so happy on the show, and I hope to stay there for quite some time.
We talked about how crazy 2020 was for everybody because of the pandemic. But prior to the pandemic, in 2019, you actually created the Emmy award-winning digital drama series, Studio City. And this is more of a personal project of yours. Is that correct?
It's a show that I've been trying to get made for a very long time. And we finally got the financing to get it made. And in our first year, we were nominated for 19 Emmys, and we won 3 of them. There's one of them right back there. And that was amazing. It's so amazing because it's so difficult if you're working outside of the studio system and the network system. So when you get something made right then and there, that's a victory. And then when you get something made and people like it, that's like the next level. And then when you make something that people like and you get recognized for an award for it, that's just amazing. I mean, it really was a dream come true. We are in the process of creating season 3 right now. And we just signed a distribution deal with a large company that's going to be bringing Studio City to multiple platforms, so that it's really going to have a wide footprint, because right now it's only on Amazon Prime. And so, it's onward and upward with Studio City. And that's been probably right up there with The Bold and Beautiful and Cobra Kai and Karate Kid 3 as, the most important, most fulfilling career opportunities that I've had. It's really kind of cool when you get to write your character's dialogue. I mean, not that you don't get great dialogue that other writers give you, but having the ability to write your own dialogue is pretty special.
The fact that you can actually be creative in your own way, that does it. That enhances the whole thing. And what's interesting about this too, Sean, is that you also got a chance to work with your wife on the show, right? She's one of the head writers. Is that correct?
Yeah, my wife is one of the 3 head writers. It's myself, my wife, and Timothy Woodward Jr., who's our showrunner. And my wife is also one of the executive producers. And it's terrific working with my wife. She's phenomenally talented. And, it's great to be able to say I sleep with a producer.
That's great. Yeah, I love that.
Please, I encourage you to tune in and go find it on Amazon Prime. They are short form episodes. They're only like about 12 to 15 minutes. But now that we've signed this distribution deal, they're going to be coming out as 30-minute episodes. So watch it now while you can. There's 17 episodes, and I know you're going to love it.
So, Sean, you recently reprised your role as Mike Barnes from the Karate Kid 3 for the 5th season of Cobra Kai. You got a chance to work with William Zabka, Yuji Okumoto, Martin Cove, Ralph Macchio, and Thomas Ian Griffith again. What was it like just getting a chance to come back to the Karate Kid universe, man?
One of the greatest professional experiences I've ever had. It was so much fun. And it was great to go back and reprise the role of Mike Barnes as a guy that's, 35 years older, wiser, has evolved in some ways, beyond that, that brash, thuggish, psychopathic kid he was at 17. We now see that he's a man, and he's gotten his life together, and he is remorseful for the way that he treated Daniel. And, if all I had done was this sort of redemption arc on the show, that would have been great. But the fact that once Terry Silver burned down my furniture store and the switch got thrown, and it was like Return of the Bad Boy. And we see that even though it's 35 years later, when push comes to shove, Mike Barnes is still the bad boy of karate.
Sean, your character Mike Barnes was last seen in part 1 of Cobra Kai season 6. I've got to ask you the $1 million question now. Will your character Mike Barnes return for future episodes of Cobra Kai season 6?
All I can say is keep the faith, and we shall see.
All right. Okay. Enough said. Looking forward to seeing you. In 2021, you wrote Way of the Cobra. And
Yes.
I want to talk about this book because this is very important to you as well. Similar to Studio City, it's something that is yours. Tell me more about what inspired the idea behind this book.
Well, the catalyst was I found myself in a place after I turned 50 when I was looking in the mirror going, okay, you've had some pretty good success. You've had some epic failures. What's chapter 2 here? What's next? And, I was in a place in my life where I was 45 pounds overweight. I was, interacting with some old demons more frequently than I would like to admit. And I had no prospects for work, and I needed to do some things very differently, very quickly, because I was rapidly sinking into what was going to be a life of mediocrity. And so this book contains the strategies and the philosophy that I used to turn my life around. Cobra is an acronym. It's formed from the words character, optimization, balance, respect, and abundance. And the tagline for the book is unleash your inner badass. And everyone's got one. And, your inner badass is your Cobra. It's your most authentic self. It's, when you're operating in a flow state, when you're living your best life, so to speak. And so the book is structured that I'm the sensei, you're in my dojo. The chapters are divided into belts, and it's the best information and the best knowledge that I have to pass on to help people deal with the challenges in their life.
I'm happy to hear that there's something out there for people to pick up and just kind of relate to in that sense, right? I mean, for anybody that's ever actually just gone through something in life, this is
Yes.
Obviously a book they want to pick up to kind of, carry on with life.
You can order the book on Amazon, or if you want to get it autographed and personalized, you go to wayofthecobra.com. And the sequel to the book, Welcome to the Kumite, is out also. And the tagline for that book is Conquer Your Greatest Opponent, which of course is you. You're your greatest opponent. How do you conquer your greatest opponent? Well, you do that by emerging every single day as a better version of the person that you were the day before. And this book picks up right where Way of the Cobra left off. And it's, again, highly autobiographical. I use a lot of stories from my life to illustrate a lot of the lessons that are taught in the book. There's tremendous information, and if you put this information into action, it will change your life. I was going to add one more thing that, after having written, after having made these changes in my life and using the strategies that are in both the books, I lost the 45 pounds. I got back on not one, but 3 television shows, won an Emmy. I don't say that stuff to impress people. I say to impress upon you what is possible when you make some very, very simple, yet not easy changes. You can completely change your life. It's never too late.
Oh, man. Well said. I love that. And Sean, you've obviously accomplished so much in your career, man. You received that Daytime Emmy Award. And in 2016, you received the 400th star on the Walk of Fame in Palm Springs. Tell me more about what that was like.
My wife and I have a home in Palm Springs, and we're very involved in the Palm Springs community. And for my 50th birthday, I received a star. My wife put it together. And, I told you also that after my 50th birthday is when I hit this period, which was this dark period. So I had this amazing experience getting the star, all these people saying these wonderful things about me, including Martin Cove, who came down to speak. And on the one hand, a lot of what they said was true, but on the other hand, I knew that I was not reaching my potential. And because of that, I felt like a lot of it, I was a fraud. And it was the catalyst for me making that, monumental decision in my life that I was going to change things. And so, that star for me kind of represents the jump off point of when this new chapter of my life began.
Now, Sean, for our listeners and viewers that are tuning in right now, they're also working on trying to pursue a goal or a dream, maybe just trying to, improve their life in a sense. So if you were to offer anybody listening or watching this episode right now, any advice as far as, trying to pursue a goal, trying to pursue a dream, what would you say to these people?
I would say that you need to become very clear what that goal is. You need to really clarify it. I'll give you two things. If you can get up an hour and a half earlier than you usually do and start working, and you do this before all the bombastic distractions of the outside world start impinging on your day. And if you can meditate in the morning, quiet that monkey chatter between your ears and get focused, that will have a profound difference on the trajectory of your day. Okay, that's something basic. Now, putting a solid morning routine in place that you apply consistently and effectively, that involves reading, meditating, visualizing, organization, all of that stuff is incredibly powerful. The next thing is staying out of the results. Okay, rather than look at achieving results, seek to build a bulletproof process in anything you do. So you're not worried about the results, you're worried about the process. So with anything, if you continue to refine the process that is going to allow you to achieve the goal and consistently do self-diagnostics, looking at where the process is maybe weak and can be improved and what's going right and amplifying that, you don't have to worry about the results, and you're almost assured that the results will come. They may not come in the exact form that you want. They may not come on your time frame, but if you apply a bulletproof process effectively and consistently, you've got an exceptionally good chance of having positive, good results. Those are two things.
Wonderful advice, man. So, Sean, besides acting and writing books, you also host seminars. Tell me more about what these seminars primarily focus on.
So, I've become really involved with motivational speaking, with coaching, and with offering seminars on Zoom. And my clients are getting absolutely phenomenal results in making life changes. So if you go to SeanKanan.actor and you go into the shop and you go into coaching, you'll see right now I'm currently offering 4 different seminars. 2 of them are acting seminars. The first one is about acting and the business of acting. And, as a guy that works on both sides of the camera, both as a producer and as an actor, I've got what I think is an interesting insight. And, I've been acting for over 35 years. I've done over 1,000 episodes of network television. I've got a couple things I've learned along the way that I could share. I also have another seminar, which is limited to 12 people, that involves the monologue. And I also have 2 seminars that are based on the teachings from Way of the Cobra and Welcome to the Kumite. The first one is called Unleash, and it's all the basic philosophy and strategy from both books. And the second one is called Heal. And Heal looks at healing the inner obstacles that we have, that the inner critic, that repetitive negative voice that so many people hear over and over again. How do you get rid of that? Healing your inner child, which I know sounds kind of woo-woo, but it's something that I did with myself. And when you figure out how to take your vision of your inner child and no longer make it about shame and embarrassment and as a toxic receptacle for all of the trauma that you may have encountered as a child, and learn to reframe it and make it something empowering, it will change your life. How to take fear and turn it into an ally, and how to use the 12 universal laws, which, whether you know them or not, they affect you. How to use them to benefit you. And so that's the Heal Seminar. And so if you'd like to sign up, just go to seankanan.actor, or you can go to sean.kanan on Instagram. And I've got all of the digital promos you can see, and you can sign up there, or you can just DM me.
Now, for our listeners and viewers tuning in right now that want to learn more about what's going on in your career, what's the best place for them to find you online?
The best way is just to follow me on Instagram, which is sean.kanan, or Sean Kanan at Twitter. I keep my DMs on. I do my best to try and communicate with everybody, and just DM me.
Sean, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, man. I'll leave you with this one last thing. This is something that we always say on the show. Sean, stay on your Grizzly.
Always, brother. I'll see ya. Thank you, everyone.
Get it, pop. Let's get it.
Yo, that's what I'm talking about.
Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to the Grizzly Podcast YouTube channel to access full episodes, video clips, and more on YouTube. The most authentic podcast is online at grizzlypodcast.com and on all major podcast platforms. Guest appearances and real conversations that will push you to hustle. The Grizzly Podcast is now streaming. Hey you, do you want to be successful? Then you gotta look the part. Get your official Grizzly Podcast merch. Available now at grizzlypodcast.com. We've shared success stories from people of all backgrounds and inspired others to pursue their dreams. Relive those moments and stream episodes of the Grizzly Podcast on our website, grizzlypodcast.com, and on all major podcast platforms.
Yo, turn it up.
Hard work, dedication, and progress. Stay on your Grizzly.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out another Grizzly Podcast episode. We'll see you next time.